Am I the antagonist for setting a limit on how many times my boyfriend can snooze his alarm? Hey everyone, we're at a bit of an impasse here. I'm, obviously, quite sleep deprived, so sorry if I sound a bit ticked off. My boyfriend Mark works a very early shift, requiring him to be at work at 5 a.m. He sets his alarm for 4 a.m., but he has a nasty habit of snoozing it repeatedly. I don't get up for work until about 6:30, 7:30 a.m., depending on when I start, so obviously my sleep is really disturbed by this. Mark is an incredible boyfriend in nearly all aspects. He's the man I want to marry, but he struggles with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which can make things difficult. Namely, getting out of bed is a challenge for him. Might be worth noting, but I am also awaiting official diagnosis, but I'm also fairly certain I'm ADHD autistic, or a mix of the two. So I also find getting up hard and I value my sleep. His alarms make that really hard. It's not just one alarm that goes off either. Mark has somehow managed to set his alarms so that his phone, Apple Watch, and Apple HomePod all go off either at the same time or within minutes of each other. Not even the usual 9 minutes that Apple allows when you hit snooze. There's a different alarm going with different snoozes every few minutes. Yesterday morning I counted out of spite. Between 4 and 5 a.m., Mark's alarms went off 12 times. I wish I was joking. It's gotten to the point now where I just get up at around 4:30 because I just don't want to keep listening to his awful alarm noise. He's tried changing the tone of the alarm. He's tried switching it to music I like instead of the default alarm. None of it helps. As soon as I'm woken up about 5 times by the alarm, there's no going back to sleep for me before I need to leave for work. So I ended up telling Mark this morning that unless he could agree to only snooze his alarm twice, at a maximum, and then he gets up, I will have to sleep on the couch for the foreseeable future. I've done this a couple of times when he's surpassed snoozing the alarm 5 times, just to get some peace and quiet. He took this as passive-aggressive and was hurt by it, which did make me feel really bad, but I'm just so exhausted all the time. Every morning, Monday, Friday is like this. I can't take it anymore. He feels I should be more understanding of his condition, but it's hard to be understanding when you're woken up every day in such an awful manner when I don't even have to be awake for another 2 hours or more. Am I the a-hole? Hey everyone, we're at a bit of an impasse here. I'm, obviously, quite sleep deprived, so sorry if I sound a bit ticked off. My partner Mark works a very early shift, requiring him to be at work at 5 a.m. He sets his alarm for 4 a.m., but he has a nasty habit of snoozing it repeatedly. I don't get up for work until about 6:30, 7:30 a.m. depending on when I start, so obviously my sleep is really disturbed by this. Mark is an incredible partner in nearly all aspects. He's the person I want to marry, but he struggles with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which can make things difficult. Namely, getting out of bed is a challenge for him. Might be worth noting, but I am also awaiting official diagnosis, but I'm also fairly certain I'm ADHD autistic, or a mix of the two, so I also find getting up hard and I value my sleep. His alarms make that really hard. It's not just one alarm that goes off either. Mark has somehow managed to set his alarms so that his phone, Apple Watch, and Apple HomePod all go off either at the same time or within minutes of each other. Not even the usual 9 minutes that Apple allows when you hit snooze. There's a different alarm going with different snoozes every few minutes. Yesterday morning I counted out of spite. Between 4 and 5 a.m., Mark's alarms went off 12 times. I wish I was joking. It's gotten to the point now where I just get up at around 4:30 because I just don't want to keep listening to his awful alarm noise. He's tried changing the tone of the alarm. He's tried switching it to music I like instead of the default alarm. None of it helps. As soon as I'm woken up about 5 times by the alarm, there's no going back to sleep for me before I need to leave for work. So I ended up telling Mark this morning that unless he could agree to only snooze his alarm twice, at a maximum, and then he gets up, I will have to sleep on the couch for the foreseeable future. I've done this a couple of times when he surpassed snoozing the alarm 5 times, just to get some peace and quiet. He took this as passive-aggressive and was hurt by it, which did make me feel really bad, but I'm just so exhausted all the time. Every morning, Monday, Friday is like this. I can't take it anymore. Change the gender with the ages to am I the a-hole? My partner was like this when we first moved in together, and they had to learn to stop hitting the snooze button. They eventually got into the habit of getting up when the alarm went off. It sounds like it's just a habit that needs adjustment, not intentional rudeness. Am I the antagonist for being honest about disliking my nephew's name? My sister gave birth to my nephew in January, and she gave him a name that I dislike, which is Philip. The two of us have always been so close, and we always swore we would be honest with each other when asked. That has always been our relationship. We feel it keeps us close and stops hard feelings because if we don't want to hear something, we just don't ask. There has never been a time I didn't want her honesty, so I will ask her anything looking for an honest answer. My sister is a little more sensitive, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I get her not asking everything if she feels like it would hurt her feelings. She asked me what I thought of the name because I was the only one who didn't comment about loving the name, according to her. And I'm not saying every single person she meets compliments the name, just that those in her and her husband's circle did. So 2-3 weeks after my nephew was born, she asked me if I didn't like his name. She said my reaction was very muted and it made her wonder. So I was honest and told her I didn't like the name, but reassured her I love my nephew very much. She asked some more questions that I answered honestly, and I was even open about names I would use for my future child when asked. My sister made a joke that it was weird to find a topic we were so opposite on, our taste in names, but she was glad we had talked. I didn't think anything more of it, and then a week and a half ago my sister's husband made a sarcastic remark that he was surprised I would spend money on such a nice gift for my nephew. I ordered a custom blanket for him that has his name on it when I don't even like the name. My sister told him to stop and apologized to me for his reaction. He grumbled and she grumbled back at him. Then he got me alone and told me I had made my sister cry when I told her I disliked my nephew's name. He asked me how I would like it if she said that to me, and I told him I would expect her to be honest if she did dislike the name I pick for my future kids, and I asked her the question. I said we don't lie to each other and it's been that way since we were kids. He said he had no idea what kind of name I would like if I dislike Philip and if I dislike the middle name too, but it takes a special kind of shitty person to tell a new parent they dislike the name they chose for their kid. And he said I broke my sister's heart, which should make me so ashamed. I spoke to my sister after that and apologized for upsetting her. She wanted to know where I learned it but answered herself before she finished the question. She apologized to me and admitted she was upset, but that she should have known better than to ask the question, that I didn't go out of my way to give feedback on the name, and she knows herself better than that. She apologized for her husband again and told me not to listen. But then her husband reached out again and told me my sister is trying to spare my feelings. So am I the asshole? Since you've already given your sister your honest opinion, trying to take it back now may signal dishonesty. What outcome does he want? I'm going with not the antagonist in this situation. Your sister kept asking questions and you provided calm, honest answers. Her husband seems intent on causing problems and stirring the pot, even going so far as to suggest the contentious name. Am I the antagonist for telling my husband to tell his mom to settle the baby? I, female 36, have a baby, 10 weeks, with my husband, male 36. Our son is amazing and a pretty easy baby. My son already sleeps through the night, which is a godsend. However, this does require a strict nighttime routine of bath, bottle, and reading a story. About an hour and a half before he sleeps, but then he sleeps like a grown adult through the night. The problem is that my mother-in-law has the habit of calling later in the evening when my son is already asleep. She will video call and insist to see the baby, and then end up calling him until he is awake. We talked to her about calling earlier, but she says she can't call earlier because she is eating dinner and then has to decompress. I have also discussed this with my husband that he shouldn't bring the phone to our son if she calls that late or pick up at all, but he has a hard time saying no to her. I told him that I won't resettle our son, just because he can't say no to his mom. A couple nights ago I was readying myself for bed after putting down our son when the phone rings. Husband does pick up and is saying no to see our son, but my mother-in-law insists and begs, so I hear my husband slowly caving. She can look, but he isn't going to turn on the lights, nor can she wake him up. Spoilers. He does, and she will. When he is walking to the bedroom I pop my head out and shake no dos. He shrugs like what can I do? And I tell him, if you wake him then you will put him back to sleep. Another apologetic shrug. My mother-in-law actually says that she will be quiet and it will only take a minute. By the time my husband did turn on the light, because she couldn't see, and she has called our son awake, because she wanted to see his pretty little eyes, I'm already in bed, hearing the entire thing unfold. Phone call ends, my son is crying and fussing. My husband takes him back into the living room to calm him down, but after half an hour comes up and asks me to do it, since he is tired and wants to sleep, and he has to work tomorrow. I told him I warned him many times. He insists that I can do it, because I don't have to work tomorrow. So I tell him, neither does your mom, and since she is the one that woke him she could settle him back down if my husband wasn't going to do it, but I am not going to do it. He did end up putting our son back to bed, but it took a long while apparently, and made him really tired the next day at work. He went to bed early the next day, and is now a little distant. Friends are divided, so now I feel like I'm the asshole. Your mother-in-law is selfish and demanding, going against what the baby needs and causing unnecessary disruptions. Your husband needs to set boundaries with his mother and prioritize the baby's sleep. If he continues to allow his mother to disrupt the baby's sleep, he should be responsible for dealing with the consequences. Am I the antagonist for telling my grandparents about the comments my mom makes? I, 16 years old, need some insight here. So my mom and dad were never really together, but kinda tried to be when I was conceived. The relationship didn't work out, but my mom did name me after my dad. That is something that confuses me, but I'll explain why in a bit. My dad died when I was 7. I spent an equal amount of time with both my parents when he was alive. A few months after dad died, mom and I moved out of state, and to be with her now husband James. When my mom got pregnant with her and James's first kid, it was weird to see her act like she was a first-time mom. She talked about never feeling that kind of excitement before and how she couldn't wait to be a mom. She corrected herself only after she realized I could hear her and added again. But she wasn't going to say again, and I think she wouldn't have said it if I had been there. When she found out she was having a girl, she said she really wanted to use a favorite girl name, and James was cool with that. I soaked it all up. I was 10 years old at the time, and just seeing my mom like that made me wonder how she felt about me, but then the comments also upset me. My mom and I also had some fights about James. She told me she really wanted me to try and let James be my new dad, and how important it was to her that I start calling James my dad. This started around the wedding because she wanted me to do a father-daughter dance with him, but it only got worse during her pregnancy and after the birth of my half-sister. My mom is a way different mom to my half-siblings than she has ever been to me. She reads bedtime stories, snuggles on the couch with them and stuff like that. She also tells them how special they are to her because she loves their dad so much. She told them the three of them make her the happiest mom in the world. I heard her make the point that having kids with someone you love makes those kids even more precious, which they are to her. And my mom has told me before she never loved my dad, she mostly hated him, but occasionally it was just dislike, and those comments hurt. My mom tells my half-sister she is the perfect daughter, and she makes her so proud to have a little girl. The only time mom and I really talk is when she complains that I call James by his name, or that I talk about my dad too much. She told me that she regrets being with him and she wasted months of her life trying to make it work when really they never belonged together. I asked her if she regrets me and she just walked away. I heard her say a few days after to my half-siblings that they make her love motherhood in a way she never thought she could. My mom's parents moved to be close to us recently and I got closer to them. Saturday I opened up to them and told them about my mom's comments and how they bother me. They confronted my mom. Now she's mad that I blabbed to her parents. James is mad that I stirred up stuff and didn't keep my feelings to myself. Am I the asshole? Not the antagonist. At 16 years old, you need emotional support, and your mom has clearly failed at being a good parent by sidelining you for not accepting her partner as your father. She neglected you and tried to force James on you, pushing you to your breaking point. Your grandparents stepped in to support you when you needed it, and you shouldn't have to quietly accept being treated as the less wanted child. James being mad at you for speaking up is hypocritical, given your mother's inability to control her own emotions. You are not the I in this situation. Am I the antagonist for stopping my brother and sister-in-law from coming into my house for a while? My husband and I, both in our 30s, have custody of my 15-year-old nephew Theo. He came to live with us last year after my brother asked if he could stay with us for some time. We agreed, but under the condition that we become his legal guardians. We did not want my brother to take advantage of us if he couldn't commit to Theo living with us long-term, but it has been almost a year now. My brother agreed, and we became legal guardians of Theo for as long as needed. Theo has been in therapy, and my brother and sister-in-law are supposedly also in therapy, though I have my doubts. Background: when Theo was 7, my brother and late sister-in-law were expecting a baby girl. Theo asked if his baby sister could be named Summer after his favorite teacher, Miss Summer. My brother and late sister-in-law agreed. Unfortunately, they lost baby Summer and my late sister-in-law due to complications. My brother was lost in grief and didn't seek help for himself or for Theo. 2 years later, he got my now sister-in-law pregnant, and they decided to get married. They named their daughter Summer to connect her to Theo's late sister. However, Theo hated that they used the name and felt it was stolen from his real sister. Theo never wanted Summer to be his sister, and he strongly grieves for his mom and little sister. After a breakdown, we agreed to take Theo in. With almost a year of therapy, Theo has shown improvement, but some anger and grief remain. He still does not love his half-sister Summer and wishes she was never born. My husband and I, along with my brother, have been involved in therapy at different times. When my brother and sister-in-law reacted poorly to Theo's feelings, I spoke with the therapist and agreed they needed to stay away from Theo until they could treat him better. My brother and sister-in-law were upset by this decision and think I am working against the family. However, I had to stand firm. My parents suggest finding an alternative solution with the therapist. Am I the antagonist? Your brother broke one of the cardinal rules of therapy by revealing what Theo said in therapy, betraying his trust and setting back any progress. As Theo's legal guardian, it is your right and responsibility to follow the therapist's advice, especially after his father's betrayal. Naming a kid after the most traumatic thing they've experienced shows their parents are clueless, and scolding Theo instead of helping him grieve his mother's death is awful. They need therapy, not you. Am I the antagonist for getting upset a stranger held my baby? AmITheA. My boyfriend, 27 years old, and I, 26 years old, have been together about 2 years now, but on and off since high school. We've always felt like endgame and end up together. But I love him and our baby, 1 year old. This is my second baby. During our last off, I was with my ex, who was so abusive to me that it gave me post-traumatic stress disorder, which my current boyfriend knows a bit about. So I'm protective over my kids. Always have been that way, to be completely honest. I'm more of a reserved person. He is so trustworthy. So last night we went to a chain restaurant for his cousin, 22 years old. Birthday, let's call him cousin, with most of his family, so about 15 of us total. Now I need to give you context. Cousin has a girlfriend, 21 years old. Let's call her girlfriend. Never met her. Heard of her twice in the 2 years maybe, but cousin moved her down here from a different country. Now before y'all get defensive in the comments, we're the same ethnicity. Now cousin goes to this country quite frequently. Don't know if this is the same girlfriend from last year. My boyfriend can't tell me because he doesn't even know. Get to the restaurant. Get out the car, say hi to cousin and girlfriend stands there outside our car. My boyfriend is with our baby in his car seat. No hi, no intro, nothing. Immediately she goes for my baby. I say nothing, I'm trying. My boyfriend had met her boyfriend once, I believe, since she's moved down here. My boyfriend hands over my baby. I say nothing. He's in a car seat, that's fine with me. I get in the restaurant. She's got my baby in her arms. Mom rage immediately activated. Any mom knows this. Why is a stranger I don't know touching my baby? I'm already sketched out about them carrying him in a car seat. We get and say hi to everyone. My boyfriend knows I'm upset, he can see it. I say nothing. His grandma can see it and tells me to sit with her. I'm quiet. Couple minutes into the dinner, I realize we don't have my son's bottle. I go to the car to get it because I need air. I can't find it. I ask my boyfriend to help me find it. He comes out. Still sees I'm upset, asks a second time. He keeps on asking as I tell him we can talk about it later. But he won't drop it, so I tell him why I'm upset. He proceeds to tell me how I'm overreacting and I'm the only one with the problem. You are the only one that has a problem with her. I do start cry because I'm hormonal. Still, it's not funny. I can hear those words over and over in my head. We can't find the bottle. He goes inside, leaving me outside alone, teary-eyed and upset. I call my mom to calm down, ask if I'm overthinking it, and she reaffirmed me I was not. I text him I'm going to the bathroom, no response at this point, in debating leaving with my son. But I can't cause a scene, so I mediate a bit and go back. Finish the dinner and he acts like all is fine. We never talk about it again. It's the next morning, but his words are engraved in my brain. He changed how I now look at him. Am I the a-hole or overthinking? You're the antagonist in this situation because it seems like communication could have prevented this whole issue. If someone is holding your baby and you're uncomfortable, speak up and politely take your baby back. It's important to express your feelings and not keep them bottled up. Consider seeking advice from a professional if you're feeling this overwhelmed and anxious. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.